Season 2 of Squid Game is confirmed, and the second Sonic movie nears its premiere with a third on the way. And people are excited to see both franchises return. So we think now would be a good time to merge these things together and answer one question. Which Sonic the Hedgehog character would win the Squid Game? I'm Kyle with 1UP Binge, and this is the Sonic the Hedgehog Squid Game. Let's get started. Now, before we talk about participants, let's cover the rules. First off, Sonic characters are known to possess abilities that reach superhuman levels. Because of this, we're only allowing them to use these abilities if they still follow each game's rules. For example, at the Glass Bridge, there will be no flying. Otherwise, the ones who can would just soar over everything. Additionally, we're only allowing them to use abilities if they can use it without any outside help. Next, we're aware there have been a few transformations/forms used throughout the games, mostly by Sonic himself. Unless they transform into them at will, these will not be allowed either. So no super or hyper forms, werehogs, dark spine forms, etc. And we're also prohibiting the use of weapons and equipment in the competition. This includes hammers, swords, mechs, extreme gear, or rockets in shoes. This also means no robots participating, as we feel they have an unfair advantage. So no characters like Metal Sonic or Omega. Lastly, because the franchise has a ton of characters spanning across multiple entertainment sources, we're limiting the characters participating to those who have appeared in a game that came out from Sonic Adventure onward. With the rules established, let's introduce our contestants. In today's edition of Squid Game, we have Sonic, Shadow, Silver, Tails, Knuckles, Eggman, Amy, Vector, Espio, Charmy, Mighty, Big, Chaos Zero, Tikal, Rouge, Gerald Robotnik, Blaze, Cream, Jet, Wave, Storm, Styx, Maria Robotnik, Mephiles, Zavok, Chip, Infinite, Black Doom, Shade, and the Commander from Shadow the Hedgehog. With everything set up, let's get Squid Game Sonic Edition rolling around at the speed of sound. Up first, we have the all-too-infamous game Red Light, Green Light. The rules are simple: move during a green light and stop during a red light. You also want to get to the other side of the field before time expires. Any movement during red light means elimination. Contestants can do well if they move quickly and pay attention to when a red light's being called. Sonic, Shadow, and Espio would excel here. Many characters can already move very fast, and these three are no exception. In Espio's case as well, with his ninja training, he'd have no problem focusing while he progressed, allowing him to anticipate cues for red lights. There are, however, several who get eliminated here, starting with Charmy and Styx. Both have large amounts of energy, so they'd likely charge ahead first without thinking, and miss cues for red lights, leading to their downfall. Big and Storm would also fall here as well. These two are stereotypical tough but oblivious characters, and that cluelessness would result in them completely missing red light calls, bringing about a quick end. The last to go are Cream and Tikal. Both are delicate characters who love keeping things peaceful. We believe that they would scream in panic as soon as others got killed. They would be like those on the show running back towards the door, resulting in their elimination. With that said, we're down to 24 contestants, and our next game in the lineup is the Honeycomb Challenge. For this game, three things are needed: a steady hand, remaining calm under pressure, and the patience to cut the shape without breaking it. Missing out on any of these could spell doom. We feel that Tails, Eggman, and Wave stand out as obvious survivors here. These three are expert tinkerers, allowing them to make more precise cuts to the candy. Silver also would excel here, requiring his mind and hands for his telekinesis. He would naturally have steady hands and a focused mind to succeed. On the other hand, the two big names who get eliminated here are Sonic and Jet. These two have a natural love for speed and are highly impatient, resulting in them breaking the candy quickly. Zavok and Infinite would also fall early. Both can be quick to anger for one reason or another, so they'd likely lose focus and break the candy out of frustration in a short amount of time. Zavok, especially, is also a bigger, stronger character, so if his frustration didn't cause his elimination, his struggle with a small, delicate honeycomb probably would. Our last elimination here is Chaos. This one's tricky to gauge considering he barely moves and never speaks. Ultimately, we feel his body itself would be his downfall, with it behaving a lot like a liquid. It's likely he wouldn't have a steady hand here, even if he wanted to. Physical objects have been shown to pass through him or get absorbed in some way. We feel like this would make it extremely difficult for him to even hold the honeycomb, let alone cut it. We now have just 19 characters left, and while this next round isn't technically one of the games, it's still important to include the Midnight Brawl. With it being an unofficial event, characters with special abilities can use them here. Shadow, Knuckles, Rouge, Blaze, and Mephiles all have fighting experience and/or stealth abilities that would definitely help them survive. Silver does too, although he could also use his telekinesis to keep others away from him until the brawl ends. Our first elimination in the brawl is Amy. When fighting, she usually has a hammer with her, but without it, fighting is not her best skill, resulting in a quick elimination. Also, let's be real, her personality will probably have grated on everyone's last nerve by now, so she'll have a big target on her back. We also have to say goodbye to all 3 Robotnik family members, Maria, Gerald, and Dr. Robotnik, as well as the commander. Eggman and the others mentioned are all just human. Without their gadgets, weapons, or anyone to help them, we think these 4 would be easy targets and would get eliminated quick. Perhaps the commander's military training would help, or maybe Shadow wanting to protect Maria. However, the Midnight Brawl is a no-holds-barred fight. They still wouldn't have much chance of survival, and as a result, we're down to 14 characters. And on to the next round, Tug of War. Pretty much everyone knows this game, but the twist is the center pit. The losing team gets pulled in, losing their lives. We're going to figure out who moves on based on each character's ability to work with others as well as their overall strength. You could survive with just one of these traits, though chances of success will go down. We don't need to look any further than Sonic Heroes and Sonic Riders in order to see how a good chunk of the remaining characters would survive. Both games, especially Heroes, have a central theme of teamwork, and a few characters still competing show up in teams in that game. Knuckles and Vector are pretty much guaranteed to survive. They both have also demonstrated great feats of strength. Examples include being shown to punch through various walls and doors with little effort. Silver also gets a noteworthy pass. While his physical strength isn't shown to be on par with Knuckles or Vector, he still shares the trait of being willing to work with others to get the job done. We also want to point out the cutscene in Sonic 2006, where he faces off with Shadow. It's never really implied that Silver had seen Chaos Control used before Shadow used it against him. Soon after, however, when Shadow goes to use it again, Silver does the exact same thing successfully. This implies Silver's good at watching his opponent and quickly figuring out ways to react accordingly. This could be utilized in Tug of War, as Silver could watch what the other team's doing, and then he could quickly think of a strategy to counter it. 2 big baddies would likely be eliminated here, the first being Mephiles. Mephiles has been shown to be able to fight, but he almost never uses physical strength. Most of his powers shown through energy attacks, so we can't assume either way how physically strong he is. He's also a good manipulator, allowing him to trick people into getting things done for him. However, that doesn't necessarily mean he's good at working with others. He has convinced Silver to try and kill Sonic, without Silver or even Blaze really knowing the truth as to why. However, that more so means he likes having people work for him as opposed to with him. The same can be said for Black Doom. Black Doom has an army working under him, and even convinces Shadow to work for him depending on the storyline. But he's also shown to do very little work himself. When he does participate, he, just like Mephiles, will use energy-based attacks, so it's hard to say whether or not he's physically strong either. Our last character to go is Chip. By teaming up with Sonic, it's demonstrated that Chip is willing to work with others in order to succeed. His biggest downfall here, however, is his size. Chip is very small, especially when compared to everyone else, so he really wouldn't contribute much to either team. He might be able to guide people, but whichever team he's on will have a disadvantage because of him. With 11 contestants left, we start to approach the home stretch as we get to the marbles round. This game is an interesting one. There are multiple routes someone can take in order to win. You can play it straight, the traditional way, and try to take all your opponent's marbles through a fair competition, or manipulate them into giving them to you. You just need to show the guard that you have all the marbles, and your opponent gets eliminated, but you can't use any violence. One character who survives is Tails. Tails has incredible intelligence, which would help him twofold. He would be smart enough to recognize any attempts to manipulate him, and he'd quickly come up with strategies and calculations to claim victory. regardless of what marble game is played. Espio is in a similar boat. While his IQ is not known for sure to be anywhere near Tails, he's still pretty smart thanks partly to his training. He'd stay calm and focused throughout the challenge, allowing him to notice attempts to trick him into losing marbles. We could also see him sitting and thinking of the best way to move forward in any current situation. This, like with Tails, is also regardless of which marble game he plays. Silver is also a standout here for the same reasons as Tug of War, in that he could pay attention to what is going on, and come up with solutions to counter his opponent as he goes. Our first elimination in marbles, unfortunately, is Knuckles. Knuckles is notorious for being fooled or manipulated multiple times, sometimes by the same character, such as Eggman. Anyone who's aware of this could quickly find a way to fool him. If not that, then he could still be manipulated in a way that makes him angry, causing him to be distracted and not notice if someone were to take his marbles. Rouge would also have a similar struggle. Rouge isn't as easily fooled as Knuckles, but any mention of gems could lower her guard. Even the thought of an easy jewel could cause her to not really think straight, as she has made multiple attempts to get one without considering risks. This includes multiple attempts to take the Master Emerald from Knuckles. We could also look at Sonic 2006, when she went to grab a Chaos Emerald despite Shadow's warnings not to. Our last elimination is another Echidna, Shade. Shade was manipulated for an extended period of time, and didn't realize his manipulator's intentions until it was almost too late. This alone could cause history to repeat itself if someone were to manipulate her, taking her marbles before she notices. With only 8 contestants left, we now enter the Glass Bridge. This is another interesting game. A lot of what happens actually does come down to luck. However, the people that go closer to last have a higher chance of winning. So if a character is smart, they'll find ways to be near the back and increase their odds. And the order in which someone chooses to go is typically reflected by their personality. First elimination is Wave. Wave may be smart, but she also carries a large amount of pride. This would cause her to believe she could survive regardless of when she goes. As a result, she would get a number allowing her to go first, which would pretty much be a death sentence. Vector and Mighty are the next to go. These two have been established to possess a great amount of strength. This might not necessarily make them as prideful as Wave, but it would still mean a good chance of them getting a number on the lower end and going soon. Following those two eliminations is Blaze. Blaze would probably fall here for 2 reasons. For starters, for the vast majority of her life, she has heavily depended on herself in order to get things done. This could come into play in thinking she wouldn't want to depend on other people's actions to find a way across. She's also demonstrated that she's still willing to sacrifice herself to help others succeed, which she would possibly risk doing here. The last 2 eliminated before the final round are Tails and Silver. While these 2 don't typically have higher levels of pride, we have seen moments with both before where people could either walk all over them or mess with their heads in some way. In Silver's case, you need not look any further than Shadow or Mephiles. Shadow humiliated him in their short confrontation, causing him to quickly get frustrated that he might fail his mission. We also already talked about what Mephiles was doing to him, so that really needs no explanation here. For Tails, we thought of 2 moments from Sonic X. On the cruise ship, Sonic plays to Tails' passion for machines and convinces him to feel guilt for leaving the X-Tornado behind. Additionally, near the end of the series, Tails was heavily reluctant to fire the Sonic Power Cannon at a planet that his friend Cosmo was on, due to how he felt towards her, which is especially apparent in the Japanese dub. To reiterate, he almost sacrificed a dire, important mission to stop a great evil, just so he wouldn't have to sacrifice her. It's for all these reasons that these 2 could be pushed around just enough to go before some of the others, increasing their odds of falling significantly. We believe out of all the characters in this round, the 2 that have the highest probability of surviving are Espio and Shadow. As previously established, Espio can be extremely patient and focused. Not only would this mean that he could be patient enough to pick the highest number to go last, but his calmness and focus could help him identify which glass panels would be safe to step on. Shadow might not have Espio's kind of training, but he still has demonstrated that he can have enough patience to analyze a situation and not act impulsively. It's likely he would stand back and watch most of the other people go first. all while remembering which glass panels are okay to step on. And finally, we've made it down to the final two, taking us to the titular Squid Game. While there's legitimate ways to play this game, the show has it boiled down to a one-on-one battle to the death. We're also allowing all their natural abilities, but still no outside weapons. This leads to the ultimate question. Between Shadow and Espio, who will win in a no-holds-barred death battle? There are multiple ways either could finish the other and claim victory, but the decision will be made accordingly to who we think is more likely to win the majority of the time. Shadow has a variety of chaos powers that give him the advantage of not knowing what he will use next. Chaos Control alone, which Shadow can use to a degree without a Chaos Emerald, can have multiple effects. These range from teleportation to slowing down time for his surroundings. Espio's ninja training can help here, but Shadow's far from a slouch in combat. Espio can turn invisible, but the open area would keep him from using stealth to its full potential. Because of this, combined with the floor being the only surface they have, Shadow would likely hear his footsteps upon approach. Shadow generally shows greater feats of strength as well. Returning to Sonic X, during the fight against the final MOVA, he single-handedly holds back one of the giant heads. Combining all these and many unmentioned factors together, we come to the conclusion that Espio is the runner-up. So congratulations to Shadow the Hedgehog on winning the Squid Game. They don't call him the ultimate life form for nothing. But do you agree with our decision? If not, who do you think would win in a Sonic the Hedgehog Squid Game? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you need a one-up, make sure to hit that notification bell and binge some of our Smash Bros. Squid Game videos. Thanks for watching.